Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Well, happy holidays, or how does one put it? You got today to sort of chill a bit. And so here we are. Now, the big news, of course, is former CJN convicted, dismissed. And, well, he has said that he's been found guilty of all charges, but he is appealing against what is being reported in the papers as coming from him, him calling the judgment unconstitutional, premeditated verdict. You might recall from having read about it that he's going to be forfeiting 26.8 million naira, $56,000, 13,000 pounds sterling, and he's been banned for 10 years from holding public office. Okay, so those are the outlines. I guess you know the story in much more detail because we've been following, all Nigerians have been following this case for quite a while. Chief Justice Onnoghen, guilty, and it wasn't between yesterday and today. We've been on this case for quite a while. Also, lawyers differ over the judgment, so it's okay. We got a lawyer, so we'll hear what he feels about the matter. And as always, we have our analyst, Dr. Jide Johnson, NIJ Deputy Provost. Thank you very much for coming on, Jide.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good Friday to our viewers at home.
Indeed, thank you very much, sir. And Mr. Femi Aino. Mr. Femi Aino is an international lawyer. He's one of us. That is to say, he's Niger to the core. He's Niger to the core. Thank you very much for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Maybe I shouldn't be saying Mr. Femi Aino because, you know, the delightful way you appear this morning, it should be Oloye Femi Aino.
Let's wait and see.
But, you know, well, we got to get serious because we have very, very serious, you know, business ahead of us. The Code of Conduct Tribunal, has, come down on the matter that we've been very careful how we've been putting it because we've been reminding ourselves that he's not been convicted yet. Well, we crossed that stage yesterday, right?
We have.
So the conviction is now on ground.
It's now been convicted and it's been punished.
Okay. Now, he himself thinks it's, quote, unconstitutional, premeditated, unquote.
Yes.
Well, you're privy to all the facts as much as are in the public domain.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, personally, this didn't come to me as a surprise. Because if you watch the events, you will know that I know that's how it's going to end. This because if you are asked to come before the court in January and you refuse to turn up until February 15, after the court has issued a warrant for you to be arrested, a bench warrant, and then you now turn up. If at the end of the day, you turn up, you open your defense, and somebody is accusing you of having a substantial amount of money in your bank account, and the only witness you call is your driver, then there's something. If there is a body set up under the Constitution called the National Judicial Council, who set up a committee to look at all the allegations or petitions against you by the EFCC. And that committee made a recommendation through that body to the president that you should go on compulsory retirement before the deadline because you are due to retire in 2020. Then there is something, if you look at everything in the round, there is something missing that, look, something is fishing here. How could that body make a recommendation that you should be retired? Despite your point, Mr. Yori, that there is a presumption of innocence and what have you. But the point is this. You see, justice is a two-edged sword. It can go for the poor and the wretched. And at the same time, it can go for the high and the mighty. And what happened here, irrespective of whether there is an appeal, irrespective of whatever people who are going to read political connotations into everything are going to say, the issue remains. There has been a conviction. That is it. And this man has been punished. It now begs the question. This will send a powerful signal to others that, look, when you are in a position of trust, you must live like Caesar's wife, by living above suspicion. And the question is very simple. If somebody is made an allegation against you that, look, you have this money, you are living beyond your means because there's a substantial amount and there are various payments made into your account. If you know the source of the money, it costs you nothing to go come in the witness box and explain yourself. Nigerians people who are paying you as taxpayer, they deserve to know whether, apart from your regular job, either as a judge or presenter at TVC or whatever, at the same time you're a Uber driver. They need to know. That is the public trust. That's what it is based on. But by the time you start ducking and diving, and I must say this, so I will give way to Dr. Johnson, but I must say this. You see, sometimes you have to be very careful the way you manage your case strategy. Okay. In this case, the problem I have is this. Issues about people feeling firm, not telling the truth. It's not peculiar to former Mr. Onnoghen alone, because we can't call him Honorable Justice because he's been stripped of that office for now. It's a common issue. Even when people I do represent where I come from and where I've been, majority of them is just because when they feel for insurance, to insure their car, there is a question, have you had a claim made against you? Some of them will say no, whereas the answer is supposed to be yes. And the reason why they are saying no, because they know once they've had that history, their premium is going to go up. And it now boils down whether you have a criminal intention or not. Now, somebody charged you to court that you fail to declare you have this bank account or not. Look, they took a statement from you. You said, I forgot about it, this and that. You may have a reason, an innocent explanation by saying that. Because the Act says that if you make such an admission, they can forget about it.
Yes.
Maybe that was the initial strategy. But since that failed, the next thing is to come before that court. You can say, look, I have no criminal intention, but as at that particular point in time, when the form was given to me, one, I was having problem in my personal life. Maybe your wife is threatening to leave you. Look, I was suffering from stress. And the way people deal with this, I must say this, Mr. Yori, please, let's get to it. The way people deal with it is very simple. There is something called attention deficit disorder. All of us here suffer from that, where you are looking at something, but your mind is not there. In your house, sometimes it is the dry cleaner that calls you that there is money in your pocket, because we used to forget for something. And there are occasions where you are looking at something and you forget. Now, what you need to do, the issue is very simple. Instead of ducking and diving here and there, get the psychiatrists or psychologists in. They will write a report that, look, we've examined this man. As at that particular time, his head was completely messed up because of so. And I can tell you without taking much time, because I need to give way, that even there was a time when I was living in United Kingdom and I don't have paper. Luckily enough, I bumped into a New Zealand lady. And we were dating. All my family, they were so excited she's going to give you paper. And there was a night, I was in her house. And in the morning, she said, look, they called me Aino, my surname, that Aino, sorry, I don't love you again. Spontaneously, let's be realistic, Mr. Yori. Spontaneously, I said, but I still love you. And she said, no. And it's not because of, it's not because of anything. Let me tell you, the next day,
yes,
when instead of busing bus 36, you know the London buses are number, I will enter bus 185. I keep missing my bus stop.
Disoriented.
My head was messed up. Now, in such a state of mind, if you give me a CCT form to fill, whether I have 10,000, it's
possible to forget.
Exactly.
You know,
thank you. I'll give it to Dr. Joseph.
It's very, very interesting.
Very, very interesting opening there.
You see, the judgment, it's a welcome development. A welcome development in the sense that I hope it will mark a turning point in the dispensation of justice with respect to asset declaration. And I hope the speed at which the CCT dispense the case of the Chief Justice of the Federation, they will use that speed in dispensing the cases that involve the presidents, former presidents, the governors, and the legislature. I hope we have that speed, because that's the beauty of it. The second aspect of it is that it's very interesting. Now, the judiciary, whether you like it or not, the judiciary has been put to test by an administrative court, which is an arm of the executive, with respect to using them as an example in fighting corruption. And I hope the judiciary will wake up to its own responsibility too, not becoming an appendage of the executive, ascertaining their independence. That's the beauty of this judgment. The third aspect of it is that justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. And the beauty of the court system is that once judgments are passed, until you get to the final courts, you still have the right of appeal. We must test the constitutionality of every decision, because for democracy to succeed, and in fact, the basis of democracy, the foundation of democracy is constitutionality. Is the decision constitutional or not? I'll give you an illustration. Let's take the issue of the American collusion or no collusion concerning the 2016 election. Now, the special counsel was established. The special counsel dropped his report yesterday. The full report was reported, and in the report, you know, it has moved from collusion or no collusion to obstruction of justice. And the special counsel said something which was very instructive. It is not left for me as a special counsel to decide. That is the job of the Congress to decide, not for the judiciary, but for the Congress to decide whether the president, by his action or inaction, obstructed justice. And I think it's very, very important for us to move this nation forward. That's the aspect I'm talking about. Issues relating to, for example, we can't just remove the president on the flippy excuse of that the president is this, is that. You just remove them through a court order. You go through impeachment procedure. You take it to the legislature. For issues of this nature, and this is what I'm appealing, I'm talking and looking at whether we have a review. Issue of this nature, whether you remove a chief justice or not, should also be subjected to the impeachment procedure of the legislature, not vested in the hand of a three-man panel of an administrative court. In order for us to have a solid based democracy. I'll end with this illustration. You know, just about this week, the Supreme Court in Uganda came with a resolution. The fact that the court has taken a decision, that's why I said justice must be seen, must not only be seen, came up with a resolution that extended the tenure of Yoruba Museveni, that was then tenure to 40 years. In Egypt, something is happening tomorrow. There's going to be a referendum whether they will extend the tenure of El-Sisi as the president of Egypt. Now we are seeing the emergence of strongmen. The executive are becoming overtly powerful globally, and other institutions are being subjected to the control of the executive. These are the areas we need to look at. Beyond the surface of the judgment, there are deep-seated issues that affect the sustenance and survival of democracy.
I think I agree with you. Now, I wanted to bring, I wanted to ask you to, you know, in commenting further, this whole concept that we have in Nigeria, whether it is right, whether it is wrong, that, look, there is no justice for the poor man in this country. The illustration is made interminably that if you're a big man, quite frankly, you have easier access to justice. And people have said that, you know, the big guys don't usually, you know, in short, Lady Justice is not blindfolded when it comes to the big guys. That's the way they feel about this matter. Now, this particular case, as Jide has just finished saying, we have to be sure that beyond what people might have felt, there is an independent process, such as judiciary, whatever, independent, plain, open, transparent, that sees that all the rules and regulations were checked. So this is legitimate and acceptable to everybody. In fact, that's why his appealing is even good.
Well, I agree to a limited extent with
But does this mean, because I think it was you who alluded to it, that this, taking from what I just said about justice usually, you know, being a problem in that way, and big men often get off light. In this case, it didn't happen.
Yes, it didn't
It
happen.
didn't
Yes.
happen. And it's you know that lawyers are still out on that. There were those who are looking for a soft landing. You understand where I'm going?
I know where you're coming. I don't think I can read your lips. But let me just tell you, the point is this. There's an issue about proportionality, the punishment being
Yes.
imposed,
Yes.
whether it is proportionate to the offense.
Yes.
But if you look at the CCT Act by Section 23, all this punishment meted out to Mr. Onnoghen yesterday, they are still within the rule or the CCT
Yes.
Act. Because it can disqualify, it can ask for formation, it can ban you from holding public office. So the judge didn't really go outside the scope of Section 23. But having said that, the punishment needs to be proportionate to the offense, because you cannot use an axe to crack a nut. But taking account of his position, taking account of the fact that he had a responsible position. Definitely, you see, let me tell you the way it works is this. If somebody is brought before the court for stealing at Ikeja computer village, for instance, stealing from one innocent seller, that's one. And then you have another person brought before the court for stealing from the employer. Now, the punishment you will impose on the person who stole from the employer will be higher than the other person. The reason being because that person was in a position of trust, the trust that must exist between the employer and the employee. And the reason why this judge was so punished, number one, you have to be very careful the way you manage public confidence in the judiciary. And you've used a word that, look, it appears in this country, those who are rich and mighty, they get away, they get justice. Look, I agree, certainly, that sometimes when lawyers see money, they get very creative. Creative in the sense that they can tell you that, okay, since you have money, we can approach this court to challenge this. Since you have money, we can go this way, we can go that way. But if you don't have money, then they can just tell you, look, let us do it this way, because now he is appealing, because he has a war chest. But some people may not appeal. And what is an appeal? Appeal is just a review of the decision of the lower court. Why I disagree with Dr. Jide saying that this tribunal is an appendage of the executive. But look, the man said it yesterday that, look, I'm not under compulsion from the president.
I didn't say, and I don't imply that it's an administrative court.
Yes,
It's an administrative court. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking
Yes,
about.
okay.
No, I'm not saying it's taking orders from the
president.
It's an administrative court.
Okay, I take your point. But I want you to take my point too, that this is a tribunal that has an independent mind, and they've taken a decision. And this decision, whether it is going on appeal or whatever happens, it may well be they will succeed partly one way or the other. But the issue now is that we have a final decision of that court. This man has been convicted already and is being punished. That will stand. Whatever happened at the appeal, we cross that bridge when we get there. We are not there now. But what I'm going to say, the signal, this we send to people. And the disturbing aspect for me personally is that in this country called Nigeria, why is it difficult for people who are sitting in judgment against others? They don't want to face justice themselves. That is a point.
Well, wait, sir. Before you launch, just former Justice Onnoghen. What? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Former CJN.
Yes.
Let's just put it like that. Former CJN has said that he was resigning to save the judiciary.
Now, Uncle Yori, there are no big men in Nigeria. Take away government patronage from everybody, every imagined big man in Nigeria, they are finished. They are finished. They are no big man. So when we say big man don't get justice, in Nigeria, you get justice depending on the favorability of the existing power structure within the system. Do you think that in Nigeria, just like the campaign manager of Donald Trump, Paul Manafort, and the rest of them were indicted, his personal lawyer were indicted, do you think it's possible in Africa? Do you think it's possible in Russia? Do you think it's possible in Turkey? Do you think it's possible in China? you are talking about well-structured society, and we are talking about building structures. We are talking about we have seen the emergence of strong men and not strong institutions in global politics, just like it happened in the 1920s and the 1990s. And I can give you example, like the examples abound: Zimbabwe, Egypt to Turkey, Turkey to Russia, Russia to the one that has just won election in Brazil. They are all abound. And when you have such, you must be very, very conscious about what happened to other institutions of the state. We all saw what happened. Abiola, big man, what happened to Abiola? He was arrested. And the rest is history. If you are in line with the existing power structure, you're a big man. If you go against the existing power structure, you are not a big man. And so the principles still succeed. That big man go away with things in a less structured society whereby you don't allow institutions. I'm not holding brief for the Chief of Justice. I've analyzed everything. That is good. It will awaken the sleeping giant, which is critical to democracy, the independence of the judiciary. They will not pander to the whims and the caprices of the executive. It's interesting. It's also interesting in the sense that if the Chief Justice of the ex-Chief Justice, we need to look at the assets of the existing one. Nigeria should be interested in the characters that constitute the Supreme Court, in the characters that constitute the appeal courts. When you look at the Supreme Court confirmation of America, it's war. And I've said on programs here that there are things that we are not interested. We are not interested in who becomes the Chief Justice of the Federation. We are not interested in who becomes the president. We just allow you to go. But these are critical sectors. Now that we have done this with Onnoghen, I think the CCT and every agency of government need to look at the entire bench.
I think that's an excellent point.
For need to look at the entire bench. So if we want to start fighting the corruption, once you clean the judiciary, you make the judiciary an example. There's no big man that can appear before the judiciary. The judiciary will dispense. It's good, and I said it's good.
And there's if you accept any part at all of Jide's analysis, that part where he said, look, this whole big man syndrome, it depends on, shall we say, the favorability of the existing administration, etc., etc. We know, and examples abound, as he said. Perhaps taking from that, this particular administration, there's a sense in which you can see that, well, to the extent that this happened on its watch, and it didn't look away. Yes. Now, it's so easy to look away and maintain the status quo, not ruffle or not cause upheavals, try to manage the effect on society. So to that extent, and it doesn't matter who's in power, it's a matter of power and how close and how connected and how favorable is that power to you. By and large, you're going to be safe or not so safe. Now, I don't know what's been going on in the minds of these succeeding administrations, but this one arrived on the whole platform and pillar of fighting corruption. And people were skeptical in Nigeria. We know ourselves. We know how we do. Now this has gone and happened. Yes. They didn't look away. Could this be the beginning of a new dispensation? If this has happened to the CJN no less, then trouble deal. Yes. Because if these people continue like, well, you know, these people, if these people continue like this, what is going to remain of the society, of the fabric of society as we know it, our own Nigeria style? Because things you will never do in Australia, never do in the UK, never do in the US, you do it here, knowing that.
Then I will get away.
Yes, it's home now.
Yes, but now this is a step in the right direction. Irrespective of people who wants to read political minutes.
Yes, those that will try scapegoating. It's scapegoating.
But you see, once you hold a position of responsibility, there is no doubt there will be doubting Thomases, who will be doubting your action, who will be reading minutes to your action.
Even lawyers, you're very respected colleagues.
Yes,
you're very respected colleagues.
I know, I've seen some of them jumping on the rooftop saying this and that and what have you. But the point is this, there is a conviction. This is a step in the right direction, and I hope there will be many more to come in coming days and weeks and months. Okay. And what they need to do is this. Look, let me tell you, in this country, what I've seen is
he's not here, but the constitutional lawyer, Michael Zekoma, S.A.N.
Yes,
you know, this is not his point of view at all. He's not here, but I have heard him previously.
Saying that they are very selective. And
Yes, he
yes,
doesn't agree with any of this, and probably is more of the mind of what unconstitutional and premeditated verdict.
Everybody, look, all those the labelist theory, it is this, it is that, and what have you, they are inevitable, but it is understandable, and it's good to have divergence of opinion. Okay. I don't have problem with that.
Okay.
What I have problem with is that in this great country of ours, there are people who are getting away with murder.
Yes.
There are people who know they are fantastically corrupt, as been said by the Prime Minister of England before. That, look, and these people, they are living big and living large.
And living openly.
Openly. And I can tell you, if you take a flight from Lagos to Abuja, you will see some of them on board. And they have this criminal case against them. And it appears there is something that tells them I can't be bothered. There is something that tells them I'm going to get away. And I agree with Dr. Jide that the best way we can deal with these people is to bring them before the court and for them to be dealt with in a very punctilious way. Because I cannot understand. Look at this case of Onnoghen we are talking about here. The case was actually dealt with. This started in January.
And then by April, there are no delays.
That is the way
it should be.
That's the way it should be.
That's the way it should be.
And now we have a benchmark.
We should throw that spotlight on the existing members of the Supreme Court. Because in the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice alone cannot dispense justice.
Yes.
You need at least a minimum of 5. And then you need at least a minimum of 5. We have in the Supreme Court someone that got a judgment for her husband, a perpetual injunction for the person not to be tried. So it's good. You know, I told you it's good. There's no way you can't be selective. Even if you're a parent, you become selective. Even God is selective. No doubt about that. But one thing about it is that once you have started a process, you become thorough. You become thorough. And then once the process is thorough, is systematic. There's what we call systematic sampling. Once you pick the first sample, every sample falls in line. Now we have made the Chief Justice to be the sample. Other samples are other members of the bench. Let's throw spotlight on the characters, on the assets of those that are in the judiciary now. Let's throw on, you know, I've said on program, and I'm going to ask one of my editors to do that, to do the snippets of some of these. You know, I've advocated this, that we need to go back, and I love what Serap said yesterday. Every political office holder in Nigeria, since 1999 to date, 1999 to date. Let's go and look at their forms. Let's bring out the forms. If we really want to deal with the issue.
Exactly.
So we deal with it. And then, because he said something, you see people display arrogance. Somebody will slip money in public service. He will display arrogance as if it's his father's money.
Exactly.
Somebody will get elected into public office. He will steal money and he will use his vehicle to harass you on the road. His police will harass you and he stores taxpayers' money. If we really want to deal with this issue, throw spotlight. Everybody now, it's good.
You know,
your asset declaration form, let's make it public.
Exactly.
Let's have a constitutional issue. Let's put it in review. That for you to go to public office, if you go to if you are a judge of the appeal court, from the appeal court to what have you, and then in the legislature, we see your asset. Your asset will be uploaded on a particular website. And every Nigerian will go and then all of us become the watchdog. If you see you buy an extra car, we will report. Until we start policing the system.
Yeah,
exactly. You'll be having these issues of it's selective, it's not selective, it's not. The American system was not selective. It affected Trump. There was nothing Trump could do. He even used an F word when he was told that the special counsel has been established. And that's what we are talking about. And it starts from somewhere. So if we make the case of the chief, in the history of Nigeria, the first time, Ex-CJN was taken to court, sat in a witness box. If we do that, Uncle Yori, people, if a lot of politicians now, they are feeling the heat that something can happen.
Exactly. And I go back again. This happened on the watch of President Muhammadu Buhari, who before, we didn't know how it was going to play out, before arriving in power had said this was his attitude to corruption. Now, a benchmark has been set of what can be done.
Using the bench.
The
benchmark has been set using the bench.
No pun intended. Now, as you were saying, from between January and now, this case has been disposed of largely in the sense that we now have a conviction. Yes, still subject to appeal, but we have a conviction. I have to go on break now, I'm told, but let me quickly establish this before we go so we can address it when we come back. Now, there's so much, and you guys have alluded to it, there's so much that can be done using this particular benchmark. Stop all these matters where we're trying cases and it goes on for 13, 20 years. Now it has been shown that it can be done. Now, in order to be for things to be seen as nobody was scapegoated, this is just a new dispensation where nonsense is not going to be tolerated, then we have to continue.
Yeah.
And we've
We
seen that it
moment.
can be done.
We must seize this moment.
If we set our mind to it.
And
this whole set of parameters, definitely the circumstances set its mind to resolving these issues. And it has been resolved. And now the former CJN has been sacked, has been deprived of all his money. Well, the monies that were seen in his account, there might be other, it doesn't concern us. But the one, he's going to forfeit 26 million naira, $56,000, and 13,000 pounds sterling. And in addition, for 10 years, don't even try to apply to any political party. This goes to show how we...
If we try this with the senators and the rest of them, some of them will not get political office for the next 50 years.
So stay with us, please. We'll be right back. We'll take your calls. Welcome back. Still in studio, Dr. Jide Johnson and Mr. Femi Aino, and we're looking at the Code of Conduct Tribunal handing down its decision, convicting former Chief Justice Onnoghen, but Mr. Onnoghen has appealed. You look at, depending on where you see your information, you look at one paper I'm seeing here, 16 grounds of appeal. But as I said, monies that could not, well, not so much I said, you know already, monies that could not be explained were in the account of the Chief Justice. And quite frankly, you know, that whole matter about you must just not be clean, but you must be seen to be clean as well. And so when a Chief Justice comes up with explanations such as, well, my driver was there, one, in a different context, he comes up with another explanation such as, I forgot actually, but I'm covered, you know. Well, the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice has, Bobby, he has appealed. So let's take it from Bobby. Bobby, in Jalingo, Taraba State, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
Sir, I'm actually delighted and happy about the case of the former CJN. I hope and I wish the way it started yesterday will actually go as normal. But the truth of the matter is, Uncle Yori, some people are actually taking this judgment as if being selective. There are many cases that have been in the court since the present president came on board. But how this Onnoghen case actually came into limelight in January and how fast it actually came into conclusion yesterday, it's actually an irony that a whole lot of people are actually in doubt. But I hope and I wish it will continue as it started yesterday so that this country will actually stay in peace. A whole lot of people thought it's been sidelined and this government is witch-hunting some selected people. Let's be realistic. This country belongs to all of us, and we must remain in this country and salvage this country. The leadership of this country is not helping matters. Let's face reality. Nobody is being sentimental. This country is actually one, and we should not divide it. May God bless us all and keep doing the good job, sir. Thank you so much, and God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Scapegoat. If you read the Old Testament of the Christian faith, to cover up for the sins of the people, there is a still goat. The high priest brings the goats. Everybody lays, he lays the sin of the people, and they release the goat. So it's good. It's good for the system. Once we cleanse the judiciary,
but we don't want to use words like scapegoating.
It's important. There has to be an example. It's a matter of nomenclature. Somebody has to be the first person. You have to send signal. You say, okay, you use this as a signal. Let me take scapegoat away from it. Okay. You have to use it as a test case to be what others will look at. So it's important because a lot of permanent secretaries in the civil service are scared now.
Of course.
A lot of permanent secretaries. You remember while we were growing up, I grew up in Waterworks quarters, and I knew that you can't drive any car. Someone will write petition, and once that petition is written, once we begin to cleanse this system, that's what I'm saying.
That was when the society had not,
so
quote
once
unquote,
we begin to cleanse this system this way,
yes.
someone can also not claim that he built a house, because there's a present minister that built a house with money from snake production in Nigeria. You can't be giving those flimsy excuses again. Well, because we will dispense the justice, and then we should not only have the CCT in Abuja, we should have it at regional, we should have it at the state level, and we should dispense justice. I will be glad to go and challenge my House of Rep member that I knew in my community. Before he went to House of Rep, he only has 2 houses, and by the time he got to House of Rep for 4 years, he now has 20 houses. I can write, and I'm sure that he will go to jail. So the next person coming after him will not do the same.
And then people will begin to be careful about those that come forward for selection, that please, I want to be on the ticket. But what Bobby said, and we had also alluded to it, people are saying, as we explained, that there are courts in the cases in this court system in Nigeria. I believe that you can find it a 20-year-old case that is still a work in progress. But people are observing that, look, this was January, and here we have essential resolution. It might not be full resolution,
but at least
now,
it's a resolution.
Bobby observed that there are many outstanding cases within the system now. Let me quickly not waste Yakub's time. Quickly come to you. Good morning, Yakub.
Yeah, very good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And good morning to your guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Literally, I'm very, very happy this morning. Why? Because I'm proud to vote President Muhammadu Buhari, because those are the reasons why some of us supported him wholeheartedly, because he told us that he wants to fight corruption and other things. See, Mr. Yori, if this corruption does not fight it, there is not any progress that we can make in this country. This example, it is very, very good example for the country. But my advice is this, as Mr. Babaji, the other one of the guests said this morning, that it should not stop. They should make it fast the way they did this one. In just 4 months, we have seen the judgment that the people are applauded. Even though the man appeal, let him appeal. And then the appeal will give another judgment. And then I believe it's going to get more verdict if he dare happy. Because now, Chief Justice, where is this only, I'm sorry to mention it, sir. Where is the only back over of this world that says the man should not appear before? Where is those lawyers? And then the other lawyer you mentioned earlier, that it was even bold one time ago, that every case that they had with the EFCC, he always defeated them. One of the lawyers said so. I watched him on the channel television one time ago. Chief Justice, the Mr. President should not stop. He should be fighting these people. He should be extending this thing to the other judges in the other
Yakub, Yakub,
yeah?
let me ask you something. Sorry.
Right.
Let me ask you something. Consider this as the first 4 years of President Buhari, right?
Yeah.
Now, this has happened now. You know, people have been clamoring for this sort of an action year 1, year 2, year 3. Nothing happened. But now, we have this. What do you think was the issue? For the first people, so much so that people began to say, was it not lip service we were paying to all of this?
See, Mr. Yori, I got your question very right. Mr. Yori, I can tell you, this country, it is not easy to fight corruption. You know, when Mr. President came in, it was first mentioned that the judiciary is his problem. I think you know that time. But now, Chief Justice, this second time, I can tell you a lot of people will be afraid. Now, look at this very example now. If Mr. President or a country can get a CJN, former CJN convicted, who are you? No matter how places you are in this country, you'll be afraid that this thing is coming towards me. Chief Justice, this second time of Mr. President, Chief Justice, I can tell you, a lot of them that steal and carry away all the masses, all our money away, they will be afraid. But before I go, Chief Justice, quickly, my bossa, in our language, my bossa, go to whoever wrote that petition. Because I give it to that person that wrote that petition. A lot of people wrote petition, but the petition was not that true. The person, I give kudos to that person. God bless that person.
All right, then.
God bless you.
Thank you very much.
One of the dangers we must avoid is to frame these with the presidency or the presidency. We will be playing into the hands of what we are saying. Allow the institutions of the state, regardless of whoever is the occupier of the office of the presidency, once those institutions are performing their functions, are you getting my point? We'll have this kind of journey.
I like the codicil you just put in there. Once those institutions are performing their functions, I think it's a very, very important
Once
phrase.
those institutions,
It's very, very
because
important.
it's not,
Because
we should
you-
not,
you know,
the
we
challenge
also-
we have is when we personalization of public administration creates the lacuna for people to say, oh, there is an interference, there's no interference, there is executive involvement, non-executive
we've
involvement.
been taught by the lawyers over the years, over the decades, that, look, the wheels of justice, often grind slowly. We somehow, when there was no fire on the mountain, we become used to this idea. And why I think we sort of accepted it is that the court is going to go way out of its way to ensure that every single aspect has been scrutinized, and that can sometimes take time. Don't know why it takes 20 years in some cases, but hey, let's not go into the details.
Do
yes.
you want me to come in?
Please.
Yes, thank you for letting me in. Look, let me tell you, the point is this. The onus is on the judges to exercise their case management power in a very robust manner. Because what is going on in Nigeria, this is a stepping stone and it's in the right direction. And you said we shouldn't use the word scapegoat. You see, sometimes...
Yeah, because
yes, I understand.
it puts in the
Mr.
out there in the public. You understand it
Mr.
psychologically.
Ayode, I take your point.
Psychologically,
Judiciary use that
they
as
aimed
an
at
example.
him.
I'm trying my best possible not to talk over you.
You must
but
have a scapegoat.
I take your point, but I want you to take my point.
Sure.
That sometimes the court send a powerful message to the people. That, look, if you start undermining the integrity of the court, we ask you to come, you don't come, this and that. And also, if you hold a position of public trust and you are brought before the court, you are going to be severely dealt with. Yes. And this is what happened in this case. Yes. Because the court is now sending, that's not scapegoating, but what the court is saying, sorry, Dr. Johnson, what the court is saying is to send a powerful message that, look, and let me tell you this tribunal is a tribunal so many people have tried in the past to undermine, that it is an administrative body, this and that, and what have you. But the point is this. Those who are facing cases of corruption, this has been dealt with a speed of light. Let us deal with their own matter in the same manner.
Yes.
And it is not limited to the court alone.
No.
It starts with the prosecution. And if the prosecution
and the prosecution is an arm of what? The prosecution, let's educate the people. No, the prosecution is an arm of the executive. We are here to enlighten and educate people. Dispensation of justice in any system, adjudication of cases cannot be taken away from the prosecution. You know where the prosecution comes from? It comes from the executive, because a lot of people don't know, and we throw it at the front burner of the judiciary alone.
Let me respond to that. My response is this. There has been an issue whether the Attorney General should be responsible to the executive and what have you. You see, those matters are matters we cannot deal with here. We go back to our legislator. They can amend the constitution to deal with that.
Okay, Abdulaziz, good morning, and thank you for holding on in Niger State. Abdulaziz, are you with us? Good morning. Well, he's not.
So based on what he said, I will go back to the legislature. You know, there's a test case. The head of the legislature.
Hello?
Abdulaziz. It's now you. You are woken up, Abdulaziz. Good morning. Okay, we've been waiting for you. Go ahead, please. Abdulaziz.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead, please, quickly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm Abdulaziz Adamukolo calling from Mina.
Okay. Go ahead, quickly, please.
Yeah, seriously, I slept being a happy man, and I woke up being a happy man. But I want to do more. There are
okay.
judges.
You want to get happier?
Many of them that are having these issues on ground. So I don't think we should only base on the Chief Justice. Other lower judges are there that extort government money and the rest.
Abdulaziz, I don't want us to go there. I don't want us to go there because we don't want to present our judiciary as some sort of a rogue unit or something like that. Well, I understand what you're saying, but I think it is. Thank you very much for calling in. It's the point that we ourselves are making that now you've established that this is doable. Thank you very much, system, whatever system it is that is working in Nigeria. Thank you very much. We know it's doable. Now, this is the list of those we're expecting. Why hasn't it happened here? I guess.
So let me just close my thought
Yeah,
so
okay,
that it
please.
can contribute. The closing thought is this. Look, you know, under this dispensation, the head of the National Assembly has appeared before the CCT.
Yes.
The head of the judiciary has appeared before the CCT. So I'm looking forward to a review of the law that will make a sitting president and a sitting governor not to be immunized from coming to explain his asset declaration before. Because the legislature has appeared and the judiciary has appeared before it. And until we begin to do that, we will not see the beauty of this fight against corruption.
A bit like, do you think that, is there any parallel between Bill Clinton at the time and Monica Lewinsky?
Yeah, no, he
They-
appeared before the special counsel.
Before the special counsel.
Yes, he appeared
and
before the
the
special counsel.
parliament.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is this. You see, for that to happen, the structure we are talking about, there's the need for be a synergy with every arms of government
Yes.
working together. And this starts with the prosecution. You see, it's not about taking people to court. When you take them to court, you need to come up with what is called a cast iron case against them. And you know what happened in recent times is that we've seen people, these cases has been going, take the case of Ladoja, for instance, the case has been going on for years.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what happened? Now, the Nemasa man, you could also see the clip when he was being dragged to court. At the end of the day, the court said this. Look at what happened to Justice Rita last week, where the court said, look, this case is going to be struck out. You see, the problem I have is this. There's no point playing to the gallery. People are going to make accusation. Sorry, maybe I give
Okay,
it to
yes,
Mr.
thank you
Okoro.
very much. Mazi Okorafor, good morning.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning, Dr. Jide, the Prof, and Barrister Kenneth.
I hope you have established a school for me to come ahead.
Well, let's compare Peru president who committed suicide 2 days ago because he was afraid of the judiciary in Peru. And that is afraid of what? Conviction. Here in Nigeria, we are good complain. Let's say the truth. You see, the earlier we start doing the truthful, the better for us. Now, I'm just suggesting on this program, if the government can do that, the speed used must be used. That's for people in prison yard are waiting tired for years. Even some people in the prison yard, they say their case file is missing. I think the federal government, if like what Dr. Dejide said, if there's a way to have these tribunal cases in all the states, even local government, so that any case, the spirit desire must follow up. I'll be very happy that even within 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month, any case is solved. Thank you very much, Mr. President. And happy Easter in advance, everybody.
Same to you. Thank you very much.
Because
Happy
we
Easter.
also need to be very careful. You see,
wait,
when you
sir.
want... Yeah, sorry.
This point that is, it keeps on coming back. Say, look, we're okay. This has been done. Yeah, you're trying
And
to
we are happy.
provide. Now, don't stop here.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now
yes.
that, because otherwise, then scapegoating will come out if you stop here.
You are not saying stepping stone. Let's use it as stepping stone. We have said, let's use it
So
as stepping
it
stone.
has to continue.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
Because
continue.
it's the only way that this society
It's the
can
only
be
way
raised.
out.
Yes. And Yakub, when he spoke the other time, said, well, Mr. Yori, you know, it's very difficult to fight corruption. Fine. That has always been our problem.
You see-
It's not difficult. If you were sitting down in a classroom and it was your teacher was asking you what are the steps to fixing this, but then when you come out into the real world, then it becomes, oh, no, that's a double chief right there. No. That one has 4 chieftaincy titles. You can't do this. Let's talk.
Look, Mr.
Then all our secret societies come into play.
Mr.
Whether,
Yori-
you know,
Mr.
whatever
Yori, I
lodge or
could
whatever.
see where you're coming from.
Yes.
But you have
that-
to be very careful not to look at things in a very narrow way. That, okay, we want this to happen, this is how it's supposed to be. You need to carry out a balancing exercise.
Okay.
Because if you start bringing everybody before that tribunal will get overwhelmed, then you will not get
but
the...
there won't be
You
one
will not,
tribunal.
you will not, no, there won't be one tribunal, no matter how many tribunal you have. Because what you need to encourage too, and that is under your public duty too, to encourage what is called public voluntary compliance. Now, if the reason
Voluntary
be,
compliance.
and I'll tell you how that will work. Number one,
Don't steal money. Don't steal. Wait, you're in a
That's
position
not my
of trust.
point. That's not my
Don't
point.
do this
No,
thing.
that's
So
not- that's
voluntarily comply with not doing the wrong thing.
That's not my point.
Okay.
My point is voluntary compliance to make sure you give an true and accurate information when completing that form. And if you don't do that, exactly, that's what I'm saying.
And then
also
I
you
am even
need
using the
and at the
principle,
same no
the
at the
principle
same
of the thing.
you see when you are dealing with all these some of these white collar criminals, what you need to do, your objective is not to send them to prison. Whatever they must have stolen, you need to take it from them and send it to the public
treasury.
Exactly.
And then look, the moment you have offered yourself to serve in the public, we should know your asset, and we should also the declaration, that form, there should be a compelling thing that this form of every public office holder should be in the public domain.
Yes.
If you have entrusted you with public purse, we should know your private purse.
Exactly.
Okay, well, unfortunately, gentlemen, they tell us that we don't have much more time. So
it's a developing story. We still have more time to talk about it.
It is, and so I guess we're going to have to leave it here. Onnoghen convicted, he has appealed, and we'll see where that will go. Because
it's a stepping stone.
Yes, because
it's a stepping stone in fighting
this
corruption.
appeal is also going to consider, among other matters, my driver was there at the time by way of witnesses, and then the other one I forgot.
The conviction has been
but he's appealing it now.
Now, an appeal until you get to the final court.
We want to know.
And so, but the important thing is that we have started a process.
We started.
And this process and the manner with which it was executed
Shows us that much can be done
once
we set our minds to it.
And
If we set our minds
we should
to
go
it.
ahead with it. People will always have complaints. There are two sides.
I got to go, Dr. Johnson. They said they would throw us out. I'm so sorry. Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson. Thank you very much, Mr. Femi.
It's a pleasure.
Happy holidays. See you on Monday, God willing. Bye-bye now.